That's Racquet. How are you today? We're going to be doing the PTR Patch Note review. I'm not sure if that's going to be the title or not, but we'll see what happens anyway. But if you guys do enjoy this content, feel free to give the video a like and subscribe. If you like the PTR Patch Note review series, comment below and say whether you like it or not, and I'll do more depending on what happens. So don't forget, this is my opinion. Don't take it as the Bible, but I do have my own insights, my own theories as to what's going to be happening. I'd just like to spread them. So, yep. Very first patch note, and that is on Anna, the biotic rifle damage decreased from 80 to 60. So that's pretty big. This decreases your 1v1 potential against heroes like Tracer, Genji. You can now, I believe Genji will take 4 shots to kill, and Tracer will now take 3, so this seems like counterproductive to attempt to do that to DPSs now. You're mostly going to be a heal bot unless you can get that last hit, so that's actually going to be quite big, and that change itself could actually hurt Anna quite a lot. But there's also an additional change, and just trying to bundle these up together to try and put it into context. So the biotic grenade impact damage reduced from 60 to 30. So I'm not really too concerned about that, but when you bundle it in with the biotic rifle nerf, that's when things start to get a bit iffy in terms of your 1v1 potential against other heroes that have low health. And impact healing reduced from 100 to 50. So she's really getting attacked this patch, and they've not only decreased her ability to damage enemies, they've also reduced her healing capabilities as well with that impact healing nerf. If you have these nerfs by themselves, I still imagine her being viable, but bundled up, I believe it is enough to sort of negate her. And also, I've examined the patch notes briefly, and there is another nerf, a buff that makes Anna look a lot less appealing. Let's continue to go down. So, we'll look at Junkrat first. No longer hurts himself from his own explosions. Junkrat, I believe, would not be viable next patch. Just because of the fact that he's not very versatile. He has a lot of bad matchups, and especially if people who are somewhat good at hit scan can attack him from long range, you really leave him to be susceptible. And when we're seeing Widowmaker, when we're seeing characters like McCree, Soldier, it's just too good of a matchup into Junkrat, really. That's really enough about him. Orisa, I'm not going to have too many opinions on her since I haven't played it too much myself. But Fusion Driver, which is her main gun, magazine size lowered from 200 to 150, and her supercharger cost increased by 15%. So with these nerfs, I assume that she has been receiving some feedback onto the PTR with balancing issues. Well, I don't know how Bastion went through if that's the case, but anyway. Sombra. As I said, I'm not going to make too much of an outstanding opinion on Orisa. Sombra, sound effects and VO distance from entering and exiting stealth reduced to 15 meters, and cooldown reduced from 6 seconds to 4 seconds on Translocator. So this is actually quite good with Sombra. I believe the only way to... My theoretical way to make Sombra viable was to make her stealth and out of stealth and instant transmission rather than have a cast time, and then you'd be able to use an ability. But this is actually quite good as well, especially when you couple them together. Sound effects with her invisibility really does give it away sometimes, and that certainly will help her stealth ability, and especially going in for engages as well. She still will have that delay to get out of stealth, but that VO distance will definitely help her in attempting to try and get in there a bit safer without people knowing. Translocator, that's always very helpful, having your mobility cooldown reduced. Going to give her a bit more mobility, and especially when that's probably where she's most weak, where she doesn't have that Translocator. So just making her a bit more sturdy. If Bastion does persist to play, and I believe Sombra has a good matchup into Orisa, if I'm not mistaken as well. Sombra could actually make perhaps an entry into the meta. I wouldn't predict her to be a mainstay, but she could be a pocket pick perhaps. See what happens there. And excuse me, I feel like I'm about to burp, but I'm not. Winston, projected barrier. Cooldown now starts when the barrier is placed instead of when it ends. So this is big, considering the lower change right here with Zenyatta. Orb of Destruction, alternate fire recovery reduced from 1 second to 0.6 seconds, and Orb of Discord can now target enemies through barriers. So we're now in a situation where Reinhardt is actually looking more vulnerable than he ever has. A lot of people were theory crafting and saying, maybe you can run Orisa, Reinhardt, and go for a triple tank composition because the ultimate, if you give it to tanks, will actually sort of make them like a DPS. And that is sort of negated with this Discord buff with Zenyatta, because that Discord orb, when it goes through shields, it's going to make Reinhardt a lot more susceptible, and it's going to give Winston a lot of leeway, especially when jumping on him. And Discorded targets when you're Winston, and especially if you're playing a dive comp, you're going to have a Genji, you're going to have a Tracer right next to you as well. It's going to give the defending side not a lot of wiggle room to have, really, and that's going to be huge next patch. And assuming dive comps could come back into the meta. Now, I'm not exactly opposed to the dive comp becoming meta, because you can have certain types of dive comps, and you see a lot of different offensive heroes, but this may be quite oppressive, especially with the fact that Discord does go across shields. So we're going to have to see how that plays out, and with those Ana nerfs, it's going to be interesting. So we're going to be in a sort of stage where Zenyatta Lucio could be meta, or whether it be Zenyatta Mercy, or some form of Zenyatta with another support. Maybe Ana's still played because of the sleep, and a lot of people are under the impression that you don't need two defensive ults at the same time. And that's why Nano Boost has been a very good ultimate, because it's proactive rather than reactive. So they're going to see how much that weighs into coming into this next patch. But that's really all I have to say for the matter. I don't have to clarify too many things, I don't think, but if you guys want me to say more, I can make a part 2, whatever. I don't mind. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate it. This is just, of course, a brief scan, not going too in depth, but just giving you guys a rough idea of what could come for this next patch. Thank you guys for watching this video. Take care. Have a good one.